Roland,
Yes, Judge.
good morning, Roland. Can you tell me how the judge usually handles an request for an interpreter?
She just calls Yoli and has her join the Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay. Let me get a hold of her.
Your Honor, this is Jim Soto. If, with the court's permission, I'd be happy to interpret if it's permissible, if you have trouble locating the interpreter.
Okay. Let me see if I can get a hold of her, and
Thank
but
you,
I
Judge.
appreciate the offer. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Jolie. Jolie, good morning. I'm calling the cases at 9:30, and there's been a request for the ad litem. There's been a request for an interpreter. And Roland says that usually they just call you and get you to sign in to the hearing. Can you do that for me this morning? Okay, thanks. We got her. All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Sure. All right. Got one person trying to come on an iPad.
Judge, what was the cause number on this again?
P-40428, proposed guardianship of Antonio Rodriguez Garza.
Okay.
Okay, Yoli, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Judge. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, I think we already called this case and had announcements. Mr. Soto, it's your application. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Your Honor, just a few housekeeping matters. All the waivers for the siblings and for the children have been filed and have been accepted by the court, by the clerk's office. The proposed ward, we have initiated him being served. It's been filed with the clerk's office. The sheriff, we still don't have a response back whether has been issued by the sheriff's office, and we were checking on that this morning. But I just wanted to update the court on the status of the waivers and service of the proposed ward.
What did the order setting this hearing say about service on the proposed ward?
That he would be served, and because this was done right before Christmas Eve, it was immediately sent out, and we are still waiting to hear from the sheriff's office. And I anticipate, they said they were doing that this morning, but I just wanted to clarify that for the court, if we may proceed with that and just hear testimony at least.
Well, I don't know that I have jurisdiction over the proposed ward if he or she hasn't been served, which would invalidate any evidence that I may hear. That's not a comfortable position that you
Yes,
put
Your
me
Honor.
in, Mr. Soto. Ms. Evans, what was your response? I guess I should ask you, did you have enough notice to have an opportunity to meet the proposed ward or visit the proposed ward?
No, and Judge, that was going to be another issue that I did discuss with Mr. Soto this morning. I have contacted the facility that he's located at. The person that I spoke to, who is his caseworker, needed to get approval from her supervisor. I did contact her this morning. I have not been able to have any type of FaceTime or any type of be able to visualize him or speak to any staff regarding his condition, Judge. So that was a concern as well, Judge.
I guess, Mr. Soto, before we hear any evidence, you want to give me a little brief scenario, what's going on, why this justifies this type of immediate action?
It would be my pleasure, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Antonio Rodriguez Garza was involved in an auto accident which has left him completely incapacitated. Since that time, his wife, Nora Rodriguez, is unable to access banking accounts. She also needs to hire a lawyer to look into what caused this accident for her husband. And the third, perhaps most important issue is that she is being told at the hospital that she needs to make life support decisions, and she would much rather make those as a guardian appointed by the court rather than in her individual capacity. So that is probably the most urgent matter, which just fell upon us right at Christmas Eve, that they told her she needed to make these decisions. So we respectfully asked for an emergency hearing on this. And those are the three main issues as to why this guardianship is urgent, Your Honor.
Why does it matter to Mrs. Rodriguez what capacity she makes that kind of decision?
Because this had already been initiated, this guardianship, Your Honor, and she just feels more comfortable doing that in her capacity as the guardian. It's just a matter of comfort for her, Your Honor.
I don't understand. People make decisions, life support systems in the hospital every day without a guardianship.
Yes, Your Honor, but because it had already been initiated, we would just greatly appreciate it if we could have her appointed to make that decision and to address the other issues before her.
The other thing is that, if I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, the order says that if you don't have an application for permanent guardianship pending at the time of this hearing, that it will only be taken under advisement. And I noticed that the only thing that was pending was an application for temporary guardianship. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you don't have an application for permanent guardianship?
No, Your Honor, we were going to wait for this to be taken care of and then submit that, depending on how things play out for her.
Okay, the order said that it would not be granted if there was not a pending application. Were you aware of that? Did you see that in the order?
I'm not aware of that, Your Honor, but I will take care of that.
When did this accident happen?
May I ask the client? I'm not quite sure. May I ask the
I don't
Ms.
need an
Rodriguez?
exact date, just like.
It was earlier this month, Your Honor. Yeah, it was earlier this month. He was, let's see, the doctor's letter was 12/10. It was probably earlier in the beginning of December.
And he's been incapacitated ever
Yes,
since the
Your Honor.
accident?
Yes, Your Honor, he has.
He's receiving medical care?
Yes, Your Honor, he is.
They're accepting the wife's decisions on the on medical decisions?
For now, they have, Your Honor, yes, but right at Christmas Eve was when they told her she needed to make that tough decision.
Ms. Evans, what's your reaction to
But Judge, and I have limited information from the actual hospital, but
you've just heard what I've heard, essentially.
Right, Judge.
Do you have any comment or thought that you would
Not
like
at this
to share?
time, Judge, no.
Judge, if I may, Judge Joanne Garcia had asked me to call Mr. Soto and advise him for him to proceed with a permanent guardianship because she didn't believe that the temporary had sufficient like information for her to continue with the temporary. But then that's when Mr. Soto mentioned about him being in life support and the lady having to make a decision. So that's why she considered at that point. But since the beginning, she didn't believe, she thought, she could make the decision and proceed with a permanent instead of the temporary.
Okay, Mr. Soto, does the gentleman have any children from a prior marriage?
No, Your Honor, just these two children that have signed.
Children he has with Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh. I guess I'm going to let you make a record, Mr. Soto. I'm not inclined, but I want to give you the benefit of the doubt and hear from Mrs. Rodriguez. I think I'm not sure that this is the appropriate remedy at this time. I'd like to hear from her about. I guess I'll hear from her on your application and let you decide what you want to offer to me.
Thank you, Judge.
Call your first witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'd like to call Nora Rodriguez.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez, good morning.
Señora Rodríguez, buenos días.
Buenos días.
I'll ask you to raise your right hand.
Levante su mano derecha, por favor.
Will you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
¿Usted jura que el testimonio que va a dar será la verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Baje su mano, por favor.
Ms. Rodriguez, would you state your full name for the court, please?
Señora Rodríguez, ¿puede decir su nombre completo para la grabación, por favor?
Nora Leticia Ledesma Hernández de Rodríguez.
Nora Leticia Ledesma Hernández de Rodríguez.
Sí.
And you are the spouse of Antonio Rodriguez, correct?
Y usted es la esposa del señor Antonio Rodríguez, ¿es correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you and Mr. Rodriguez reside in Hidalgo County, right?
Y usted y el señor Rodríguez residen aquí en el condado de Hidalgo.
Sí.
Yes.
And you have respectfully asked the court and applied to be temporary guardian of the person and the estate of Antonio Rodriguez Garza, correct?
Y usted ha pedido de que se le asigne como la guardián temporal del señor Antonio Rodríguez para la persona y los bienes de él.
Sí.
Yes.
And he is currently located, Mr. Rodriguez is currently located in Solana Hospital in McAllen on the 8th floor on life support, correct?
El señor Rodríguez en este momento está en el hospital Solara y está conectado a una máquina que le da vida, ¿es correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Your Honor, we respectfully request that the court check judicial notice of the doctor's letter, which was signed on December 10th of 2020, has been admitted for the court's record.
Ms. Evans, do you have access to that record?
Yes, Judge, I have it.
Okay. I don't have it in front of me. I'm assuming it's been filed, the record in the cause number. Is that true, Mr. Soto?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll take judicial notice of it if it's in the file.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Rodriguez, you have reviewed the doctor's letter from Dr. Arturo Martinez, correct?
Señora Rodríguez, ¿usted ha revisado la carta del doctor Arturo Martínez?
Sí,
Yes.
And you are in agreement with everything the doctor has stated in the letter about your husband, correct?
¿Y usted está de acuerdo en toda la información que ha puesto el doctor tocante a la situación de su esposo? ¿Es correcto?
sí,
Yes.
And we have discussed lesser restrictive alternatives to a guardianship, and that is not available for you to handle without the guardianship, correct?
Y nosotros hemos hablado de otras opciones en vez de la tutela, pero en este momento estas otras opciones no son disponibles debido a la condición de su esposo, ¿es correcto?
sí,
Yes.
And you provide for all of your husband's needs through the hospital, correct?
Y usted proporciona todas las necesidades de su esposo ahí en el hospital.
sí,
Yes.
And your husband is 57 years old, correct?
Su esposo tiene la edad de 57 años, ¿es correcto?
sí,
Yes.
He is currently married to you, correct?
Y actualmente él está casado con usted.
sí,
Yes.
And he only has 2 children, correct?
Y él tiene 2 hijos, ¿es correcto?
sí,
And those
Yes.
are your children as well, correct?
Y estos son también sus hijos, ¿es correcto?
sí,
Yes.
And is it your understanding that Antonio Rodriguez Garza is totally without capacity?
Y es su entendimiento de que Antonio Rodríguez Garza está totalmente sin capacidad en este momento.
sí,
Yes.
And do you believe that it's in the best interest to have a guardian appointed to handle the care and the needs for Mr. Antonio Garza?
Y usted cree que en este momento es en el mejor interés de él para poder cuidar las necesidades del señor Garza.
sí,
Yes.
And there is no guardianship existing at the moment, correct?
Y en este momento no existe una tutela bajo el nombre de él, ¿es correcto?
no,
No.
And there is no power of attorney over your husband as well, correct?
Y tampoco existe una carta poder bajo el nombre de su esposo, ¿es correcto?
no, no existe, no,
No, no, there is not one.
And based on the doctor's letter, do you agree that a guardianship of the person in the estate is in the best interest of your husband?
Y basado en la carta del doctor, ¿usted cree que es en el mejor interés para su esposo de esta tutela?
sí,
Yes.
And you are respectfully asking the court to be appointed as guardian of the person in the estate for Antonio Rodriguez Garza. One, because you need to be able to access the bank account that is in only his name, correct?
Y entonces en este momento usted le está pidiendo a la corte que la asigne como guardián temporal de los bienes y la persona de su esposo. Uno es porque tiene que tener acceso a las cuentas de banco, ¿es correcto?
sí,
Yes.
And a second point would be that you need to hire a lawyer to investigate what happened that caused this to your husband, correct?
Y la segunda es porque usted necesita ocupar un abogado para que investigue qué es lo que pasó con esto que le causó a su esposo.
sí,
Yes.
And a third reason is that you're being asked by the hospital to make some very difficult decisions about life support for your husband, correct?
Y la tercera es porque usted le está pidiendo al hospital de que haga decisiones tocante a la vida de su esposo, ¿es correcto?
Sí,
Yes.
And for all of these three reasons, you are respectfully requesting the court appoint you as temporary guardian to be able to manage affairs on behalf of your husband, correct?
Y por estos motivos, usted le está pidiendo a la corte de que la asigne como guardián temporal para poder hacer estas decisiones.
sí.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Judge, I have no questions.
Ms. Rodriguez. Good morning, ma'am.
Buenos días, señora Rodríguez.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
I can see your home in the background.
¿Puedo ver su casa atrás de usted?
Where do you live, ma'am?
¿En
Sí.
dónde vive usted?
En Mission, Texas. Una trailer.
En a trailer home in Mission, Texas.
Sí,
And your husband was hurt early in December of this year?
Y su esposo fue lesionado ahora en los primeros de diciembre de este
Fue-
año.
fue el 6 de noviembre.
It was November 6th.
So he's been hurt for 2 months?
Entonces ya está lesionado por 2 meses.
Sí,
Yes.
And since the accident, he has been incapacitated?
Y desde el accidente él ha estado incapacitado.
sí.
Yes.
You have not had a chance to have any conversation with him?
Entonces no ha podido tener una conversación con él.
No.
No.
I'm very sorry to hear of your husband's circumstance.
Lamento mucho las circunstancias en las que está su esposo en este momento.
I'm curious, ma'am, how have you been able to support your family for 2 months?
Me da curiosidad, le quiero preguntar cómo es que usted ha podido continuar y poder seguir con los gastos por estos 2 meses.
Pues hay gente que me ha apoyado y pues los hermanos de él también.
There's people that have helped me and also his brothers.
Are you not able to, does your husband have a checking account?
¿Su esposo tiene una cuenta de cheques?
Sí,
Yes.
Would he normally deposit his paycheck there?
Normalmente él depositaba ahí su cheque del trabajo.
sí.
Yes.
Do you know how much money is in that account?
¿Usted sabe más o menos cuánto hay en esa cuenta?
Ahorita solo creo que hay $35.
Right now, I think there's only $35.
Mr. Rodriguez, the doctors are not willing to accept your decision on whether to remove your husband from life support?
Señora Rodríguez, los doctores no están aceptando su decisión. Si usted quiera retirar a su esposo de esta máquina.
No entendí.
I didn't understand.
Okay, have the doctors asked you to make a decision on whether to continue your husband on life support?
Los doctores le han pedido a usted que haga una decisión si continuar con su esposo en este aparato que le da vida a él.
La doctora habló conmigo y me dijo que él estaba delicado y que probablemente yo en un futuro tenía que tomar una decisión si no lo quería ver sufrir y quería desconectarlo.
The doctor spoke to me and told me that he is being delicate and somewhere down the line I needed to make a decision if I didn't want to see him suffer to disconnect him.
And are you aware that you can make that decision without a guardianship?
Y usted está al tanto de que usted puede tomar esta decisión sin tener una tutela.
Sí.
Yes.
Any redirect, Mr. Soto?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Rodriguez, we had talked about the decision to continue life support or disconnecting, correct?
Nosotros habíamos hablado de continuar con esta decisión de mantenerlo vivo o desconectarlo, ¿es correcto?
Sí,
Yes.
And at that time, you mentioned you wanted to have more time, correct?
Y en ese momento usted dijo que usted quisiera tener un poco más de tiempo, ¿es correcto?
sí, yo quiero que todavía sigan, sí.
Yes, I want him to continue.
And at that time, you also mentioned that you would rather have this guardianship appointed so you felt more comfortable in making that decision, seeing that there are siblings and children involved.
Y en ese momento usted también dijo de que usted prefería ser asignada a la guardián para poder tomar esta decisión debido a que hay hijos también involucrados.
Sí,
Brothers
Yes.
and brothers and sisters.
Oh, y hay hermanos y hermanas.
hermanos, sí.
Yes, brothers.
Yes, and because of that, you're respectfully requesting the court consider this guardianship, correct?
Y debido a esto es de que usted le está pidiendo a la corte que considere esta solicitud. ¿Es correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, ¿no más preguntas?
Mr.
Judge,
Rodriguez.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Ms. Evans, you want to?
I have no questions, no, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez, did you get married with your husband in a formal way with a JP or in a church?
Señora Rodríguez, ¿usted se casó formalmente con su esposo frente a un juez o por medio de la iglesia?
Frente a un juez.
Yes, with a JP.
How long ago, ma'am?
¿Hace cuánto tiempo?
En el 2001.
En 2001.
Okay. None of the brothers question your status as his wife. Is that true?
Ninguno de los hermanos de él cuestionan su estatus como esposa, ¿es correcto?
Sí, es
Yes,
correcto.
it's correct.
Okay. All right, Ms. Evans, I'm going to take it under advisement. Is there anything you want to tell me that you think I should consider?
No, Judge, not at this time. The limited communication I did have with the hospital, they did inform me that he was in a vegetative state, that he would not be able to make his own decisions at any time. And his condition basically would not improve.
Okay. Okay. As a last, Mr. Soto, I'm going to take this under advisement.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mrs. Rodriguez, I'm so sorry. And,
Señora Rodríguez, lamento mucho este suceso.
and I'm glad that you want to give your husband more time. I think that's the right decision.
Y me da gusto de que usted le quiera dar a su esposo un poco más de tiempo. Yo creo que es la decisión correcta.
Sí.
Whether I sign this order or not, I want you to know you have authority to make that decision.
Si firmo esta orden o no, quiero que usted sepa de que usted tiene autoridad para tomar esta decisión.
And that you should make it without having to wait on me.
Y que usted deba tomar esta decisión sin tener que esperar a que yo haga una decisión.
When and if you become comfortable one way or the other.
Esto sería cuando usted se sienta cómoda de una manera o de otra.
I wish you and your family the best.
Y le deseo a usted y a su familia lo mejor.
Gracias.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Soto, if you submit a proposed order, I'll review it. If I make a decision, I'll have Ms. Hernandez contact you.
Thank you, Judge.
Y'all have a nice day.
Likewise.